This video begins with a portion from a prior video that I posted in July about Steve Schmidt, a once dedicated Republican warrior, now turned American patriot in an effort to fight, repudiate, and destroy all things Trump. Although I don't know Steve's birth time, even with just his day-planet positions, you will see that they are lined up to confront Trump and fight him tooth and nail. Following that, you will hear some of what he said today when being interviewed by Brian Williams of MSNBC. The question was regarding the insanity of Republican Senator Marco Rubio endorsing and encouraging the behavior of Trump's reckless followers when they tried to run the Texas bus off the road, and what all of this means for the future of American democracy. Astrologically, his Virgo planets are at odds with Trump's Gemini-Sagittarius axis by squaring both ends by sign, or in the case of Mercury, in tight degree square to Trump's Uranus, thereby gaining insight and attunement into Trump's erratic patterns. Mars is in close conjunction with Mercury, so his communication is anything from direct to aggressive, and since it squares Trump's erratic Uranian escapades, Schmidt will hit him hard every time. If he is born from 4 p.m. or so onward, his Virgo moon gets pulled into these degrees to add even more fuel to the fire. Pluto, which is always a power point in anyone's chart, here placed late in the sign at 27 plus degrees, is square Trump's sun and moon, and this will galvanize in Schmidt the urge to attack and destroy a person like Trump. To top it off, notice the sun conjunct Uranus linking to Trump's T-square, which is the source of so many of his problems. I've noticed people in the public sphere with early cardinal planets like this tend to get into combat with Trump. Finally, Saturn is pretty near Trump's midheaven and square his Mars, which is another great combination for heavy censoring, and this is exactly what happens in this case.
Steve Schmidt, when I heard Marco Rubio, I guess the day before Election Day, kind of saluting the folks, the Trump caravan that almost ran the Biden bus off the road, you hear something like that from someone who's supposed to be a mainstream Republican senator. You realize that Trumpism, and that's part of what the Lincoln Project was formed to defeat. Trumpism is a powerful thing. It may be a loser politically, but do you anticipate it to survive Donald Trump?
Oh, absolutely. Look, we have almost 48% of this country that's voted for a statist, authoritarian movement with fascistic markers that's hostile to American democracy, to the rule of law, that venerates an individual that's a cult of personality. I think that Tucker Carlson is the front runner for the Republican nomination in 2024. What you're going to see is every Republican candidate will kowtow to the conspiracy that Trump was stabbed in the back by unseen malicious forces of the deep state, that the election was stolen, that it's illegitimate. I mean, forever. More than a majority of the Republican Party will believe this was an illegitimate election because they have been poisoned by the Murdoch operation, by OAN, by Sinclair, by the toxic sludge of sewage and crap and disinformation and lies that flows on Facebook into the screens of the American people. And so this is a long-term fight. We have an emboldened white supremacist, white nationalist movement in this country now because of Trump. We see a militia movement that has become part and parcel of the Republican Party, where it's now standard operating procedure at a political rally to see the guys with their AR-15s. So all of this needs to be sealed back under a sarcophagus of the type that lays over the Chernobyl reactor. But it's going to take a long time to do it. The good news is this: the majority of the country has rejected this. They've rejected it by more than 4 million votes. The states of Georgia will flip, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin. This is a very substantial victory by Vice President Biden. It is a historic victory. It is hard to turn a president out of office. Donald Trump has been repudiated by the righteous anger of the American people significantly. Now, the Trump enablers like Lindsey Graham, they paid no price. They were rewarded for it. And now we see Lindsey Graham standing up with Donald Trump in what is tantamount, at least rhetorically, to a coup. In the end, from Lexington and Concord forward, the idea of the country was that we, and by we, I mean the people, govern ourselves. We pick the leaders. Our politicians don't tell us how long they wish to serve. We tell them. And Trump has been fired because of his recklessness, his insanity, his malfeasance, his incompetence, and because he's the worst president in the history of the country who has presided over one of the greatest calamities in the history of the country. It's time to pack up. Every single Republican elected official in this country, from dog catcher to U.S. senator to governor, has an absolute moral and an American obligation to support the integrity of the election and the result of the winner. And the winner is Joe Biden, the 46th president of the United States, come January 20th, 2021 at the noon hour.